Can you believe it? Prager U is back with another video on religion and atheism. Yay! Usually they just make videos on things like why we should take away rights from women. I know, right? Crazy.
In a recent interview, while I was presenting some scientific discoveries that may point to the existence of God, a camera operator, a young woman whom I'll call Maria, began to weep visibly.
If I were listening to someone presenting, quote, scientific evidence that pointed to the existence of God, I too would weep visibly.
Later she told me the reason for her tears. Like many young people, Maria believed in God when she arrived in college. But while there, she repeatedly encountered professors who insisted that based on the science, God was a myth. No more real than Santa Claus.
You know, I've never heard of a single instance of a professor convincing his students that God did or did not exist, because they never crossed the subject of our study. For example, if there's a class on biology, physics, or chemistry, the hard science classes, what reason is there for professors to say, oh, by the way, this and this disproves God? I highly doubt professors would go out of their way to do such a thing. At least I myself have never seen anything like that, to myself or any of my friends. The curriculum for sciences are usually pretty packed, so I doubt any professor even has the time or energy to go out of their way, unless a student specifically asks them. But of course, I'm just judging this based off my own experience, so maybe I'm wrong and this is a thing throughout many universities. The only class I took that even somewhat talked about religion was a humanities class I was forced to take as a general education requirement, where a large portion of it was dedicated to Christianity. You could tell the professor and the TA were Christians because the class literally, and I mean literally, was just them preaching the New Testament to us. And I was sitting there thinking I was physically in church, and that's not right. A humanities class is supposed to teach us things from an outside point of view. Anyway, continue.
Maria didn't feel equipped to challenge her professors. She eventually left college with nagging doubts about her faith and wondered whether life, including her own life, might be nothing more than a cosmic accident.
I mean, if that was enough to change your faith, then your faith wasn't strong enough to begin with. And yeah, the science is pretty convincing, so no wonder she didn't have anything to challenge her professor with.
Many young people share Maria's doubts. Indeed, powerful voices in the academy tell us that science makes belief in God and human significance untenable.
Belief in God, sure, but no one is undermining human significance. That's for you yourself to decide, by the way, not some book or an imaginary God.
Or as Richard Dawkins, the famed atheist from Oxford, has asserted, the universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is, at bottom, no design, no purpose, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. But are we the product of such indifference? That is, purely materialistic processes that did not have us in mind, as another scientific atheist has put it?
I don't understand how religious people are so scared of this. They search so desperately for a reason to believe their lives have meaning in the grand scheme of things, but they search for this from somewhere else that isn't from within themselves. You yourself give your life meaning. Don't look towards a religion to find meaning in your life. I know it's tempting, but what kind of true meaning would there be if someone else defined it for you?
Does the universe have the properties we should expect if this all there is matter vision of reality is correct? Perhaps not.
Ah yes, it's always hilarious to see creationists try to use science to justify their beliefs. It's like trying to fit a cube into a circular hole. You can try, but you won't succeed.
3 major scientific discoveries contradict the expectations of scientific atheists and point instead in a distinctly God-friendly direction. First, the Big Bang. Discoveries in observational astronomy and developments in theoretical physics have revealed that the universe had a beginning. This is contrary to the expectation of scientific materialists, who long portrayed the universe as eternal and self-existent, and therefore in no need of an external creator.
What are you even talking about? First of all, many scientists in the past, and a few today, do believe that the universe is eternal, but the Big Bang is still the leading theory by a large margin. I have literally never seen this before, where a creationist is saying the Big Bang is evidence for their religion. Incredible. Second of all, just because the Big Bang happened does not mean the universe is not eternal and self-existent, because we don't know what there was before the Big Bang. Many argue there was nothing except virtual particles and negative energy, but some believe there was a big crunch before the Big Bang, indicating that the universe goes through a series of bangs and crunches. The Big Bang was simply an expansion of the universe. That doesn't necessarily mean our reality had a beginning to it. You made a false premise here.
This evidence for a beginning has instead confirmed the expectation of theists. Nobel laureate Arno Penzias helped make a key discovery establishing a cosmic beginning. He later observed, "The best data we have are exactly what I would have predicted had I nothing to go on but the first 5 books of Moses and the Bible as a whole.
Wonderful. Just an example of using already proven science to fit into the conclusion of religion. What else is new? And plus, what kind of evidence is this anyway? It's literally just one line of the Bible implying there was a beginning. Congratulations, you had one line that can be somewhat but not really considered true according to science. What about the rest of Genesis? The book itself has contradictions on the orders in which things were created. Adam had to name thousands of animals per second, and the concept of days already existed before the sun. Genesis is just a disaster that even if you proved just one line of it, which you didn't, it doesn't do much to prove the entire book or justify the inconsistencies.
And he's not alone. Cosmological evidence has led other prominent scientists, including former MIT physicist Gerald Schroeder and the great Caltech astronomer Alan Sandage, to affirm a transcendent creator beyond space and time as the best explanation for the origin of our finite universe.
For every creationist scientist you name, there are 10 other scientists that disagree. Feel free to name as many as you want, but that's not going to strengthen your argument whatsoever.
Second, fine-tuning. We live in what Australian physicist Luke Barnes calls an extremely fortunate universe, where fundamental laws and physical parameters have somehow been fine-tuned with just the right strengths and values to make life possible.
Okay, so this is a fairly old topic and one that I've heard a lot. Back when I was in college, I joined a Christian group, and one of the events I attended was Scientific Evidence for God. And it was essentially a 30-minute presentation on exactly this, the fine-tuning of the universe. Now, he didn't go through any specifics, so I'll just briefly summarize the counter-argument. Creationists like to point out that there are very specific values that, if changed even slightly, would either break our universe or disallow life to exist. But the question is, how do you know that? How do you know that along with constants, equations, and certain laws of physics wouldn't change too? We just know absolutely nothing about what would happen if constants changed, because they're constants, so there's no way to indicate that life could or could not exist under different conditions. It's a false premise that is being presented, a conclusion drawn on absolutely nothing, when in reality we don't know enough, and that's the gist of it. If he gives more specific examples, we can go into them in depth, but it doesn't seem like that's happening.
The incredible odds against this happening by chance has led even agnostic and atheistic physicists to marvel.
Again, you can name as many scientists as you want. It doesn't prove anything.
Third, the complexity of life. Molecular biology has revealed the presence in living cells of an exquisite world of informational nanotechnology, digital code in DNA and RNA, tiny, intricately constructed molecular machines, a complex information storage, transmission, and processing system that resembles but vastly exceeds our most advanced digital high technology. Not what anyone would expect to see as the result of blind, materialistic processes.
These arguments are so shallow and so bad. Look, this thing looks complex. God must have done it. First of all, nothing is just complex or not complex. You can only really say something is complex in comparison to something else. So for all we know, biological machinery on Earth is very simple. There might be aliens out there that have developed a more complex biological system over much more evolutionary time. Complexity is not an objective measurement. Second of all, even if you give the vague definition that it is complex, that still doesn't mean a creator created it, because for all we know, organisms become more and more complex over time, because that is usually favored by evolutionary pressures. And even if we don't consider that, it still doesn't lead to God, because there still could be an unknown scientific and natural process that makes biological machinery complex. You jumped way too many hoops.
So what should we make of all this? For their part, scientific atheists have constructed ever more convoluted and fanciful theories. They posit alien designers to account for the code of life.
Alien designers is just a concept, not something anyone actually believes in. There is no evidence for it, just like how there is no evidence for the existence of a God designer, and that's the point. It's just a way to help you critically view your own argument.
Multiple parallel universes to try to explain fine-tuning.
Again, that's just an example of another challenging explanation. You cannot conclude one conclusion when there are a million other possible explanations. If I go into my living room and saw someone knock my book off the bookshelf, I can't immediately assume it's my roommate if there's a possibility that it could also be my cat or my dog, for example. You have to at least somewhat disprove the other alternative explanations before you can say for sure that one is true. And we do that in science all the time, where we have to go out of our way to disprove or undermine other hypotheses. You are jumping massive hoops, and it's clear you're not familiar with the scientific process. Plus, the multiverse is a very likely thing that actually has evidence to back it up, so it's not completely out of this world.
And they've developed elaborate mathematical equations in an attempt to use physics to show how the universe could have begun from nothing physical.
Okay, but scientists have done the math. Have you done any math when it comes to proving you're God? All you're saying is, nah, the universe couldn't possibly have come from physical nothing, and that's it. See the difference here? While real scientists are spending years and years to develop these mathematical equations, you're sitting here dismissing it all without lifting a single finger.
But what if the scientific atheists are just wrong? What if the universe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is an intelligent and purposeful creator behind it all?
What if I won the lottery tomorrow without even buying a lottery ticket?
Given the scientific evidence we now have, it might be time to consider or reconsider this question.
The only thing I will be reconsidering is my motivation to making response videos like these that kill my own brain cells. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my top patrons Fireshard, Alan Morton, and Miss Fixit. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.